A lot of celebrities going to federal prison. I'll tell you something I've really noticed over the last few years. I don't feel as special being a convicted felon because we continue to arrest and convict a lot of people in this country. Being a felon's not a big a deal anymore, but it is difficult, and there are lifelong consequences that accompany making bad decisions. In my case, I did it, I own it, I broke the law, consequences should follow. For those who go to trial and maintain their innocence and look to prevail while on appeal, it can be very difficult, whether you're a celebrity or not, to go to prison because you don't think you did anything wrong. So my experience was pretty easy because I was younger, it was 1 year, but I did it. I broke the law and I wanted to work to make amends. But what about those who went to trial, like Elizabeth Holmes, like the Chrisleys, and others? How can their experience be productive and worthwhile while serving a very long time in federal prison? Filming this video because a media outlet reached out earlier today, asked me some questions, and I said, how about I respond via video? They said, great. I'm not going to mention the outlet just in case I film this video and they don't post it, and I'll be wondering, is it something I said? Did they not like it? Why didn't they post it? So I don't want to put it out there, but let's hope I do well and they post it and they share it, and I want to provide value to all of you. For some perspective in working with celebrities, and our team since 2009 has worked with probably most, and I can't mention their names due to attorney-client privilege, and I don't want to violate that privilege and get into trouble and also no longer get the referrals from lawyers. But I'll tell you, there's this mistaken presumption that celebrities are going to have such a struggle in prison. It's going to be so miserable in prison because they're going from these opulent, beautiful mansions to a minimum security camp. While certainly it's an adjustment, I'll tell you what I've learned about celebrities with whom we have worked. They're resilient, they're strong, and many of them, as us Jews like to say, came from bubkas, came with nothing. They just worked and built and created, and in time wealth followed. But in many cases, it was years of toiling away and struggle. So it's not the huge shift that people think going from the mansion to the minimum security camp. It's an adjustment, yes, but many of them have endured worse. Should I transition to the question now? Before I do, please like and subscribe to this, and a shameless plug to get lessons from prison. A book you can get for free at whitecollaradvice.com. Wrote it a long time ago with my now business partner, Michael Santos, who served a quarter century in prison. Long time, certainly a lot longer than the measly 1 year I endured in a camp. To the question they asked or wrote, Todd Chrisley is set to serve 12 years in FPC Pensacola, a minimum security prison located in Pensacola, Florida. And his wife, Julie, will be serving her 7-year sentence at a medium security facility, FCI Marianna Satellite Camp, which has a minimum security satellite campus. Based on your knowledge, which Chrisley might have a harder time adjusting to their respective facility? It's a big question. It's a good question. So let me provide some perspective, and Todd Chrisley should feel fortunate that on a 12-year sentence, they've designated him to a minimum security camp, which people frequently call a club fed. They've designated him to a minimum security camp, which typically you need if you have 10 years or less, but clearly they're applying some good time credits that he'll earn and some discretion in sending him to a camp. He should feel very fortunate. Miss Chrisley, as I understand it, is going either to the satellite camp in Florida or it could be elsewhere. Regardless of where they go, it's a very long journey ahead. And when I mention other celebrities, those sentences have been measurably shorter. Now, I wouldn't call Bernie Madoff a celebrity. He became a celebrity once he got caught. But Martha Stewart, Felicity Huffman, others who have become immersed in this criminal justice system, the sentences have been much shorter. So with the Chrisleys, they have a long journey ahead of them. With respect to who would have an easier time adjusting or harder time adjusting, common opinion would say the person who has the shorter sentence would adjust easier because they don't have as much time to serve. Though having served time in prison and learning from people like my partner who did a quarter century, I saw people who had 10 years left to serve be happier, have a more proactive prison adjustment, more connected to their community and their society and giving back to their fellow prisoners. I saw people who had 10 years left measurably more productive than someone who had 6 months left, a year and a day, or 2 months left to serve. The reason it might be so hard for them to adjust is because, like I said earlier, I broke the law. I pled guilty and I deserve to be held accountable. But when you go to trial and lose and maintain your innocence, you feel as if you were being wrongfully imprisoned. So the onus will be on them to somehow ensure that the 12 years doesn't feel like 120 years or the 7 years doesn't feel like 70 years. And that's often the case for people who feel as if they have been wronged. People that do not adjust well in prison, and I hope the Chrisleys don't follow this path, they literally serve time like watching paint. It's like watching paint dry, watching 1 minute move to the next. It's 9 a.m. and they're wondering, when is mail call coming? When will mail come at 3 p.m.? I need the New York Times or the USA Today. This is miserable. So they adjust in such a way where they feel utterly useless, or they complain. So I would encourage the Chrisleys, who I know they're disciplined. Whether you love them or not, they're disciplined. They're entrepreneurs. They're creators. They have overcome. They have built. And if they could apply that same skill set in prison, if they could apply those same tools to helping, there's saliva here, to helping people with whom they are serving time, then it won't feel like 12 years. Sure, their body is confined in prison, but their mind could be free to roam and work. So I propose to all of you, as I respond to this question, who will have a harder time adjusting in their respective facility? If the person that spends their day complaining and blaming the government and lamenting over the life they once had and blaming the lawyers and the judge and not doing their job, engaging in the prison hustle, getting into trouble, feeling entitled, shallow, arrogant, not respecting prisoners who have been in and out of the system for decades, not recognizing people within that prison do not have opportunities and privilege that they had and some would argue squandered. If they can avoid that path, dare I say it can be a phenomenal, productive experience that can improve their legacy, demonstrate to their children they can accept struggle, not just talk about it, demonstrate a plan moving forward. And the last thing I'll say on this issue, what they need to do, if I were guiding the family and I said, you're surrendering on the 17th, here's what you need to do before you go to prison. Before understanding all the nuances of prison, you need to ensure that you're creating a best-in-class reentry plan. In light of the First Step Act, major prison reform that Trump signed in late 2018, the First Step Act can grant someone's earlier release if they are extraordinary and compelling. So in order for them to adjust well, they need to demonstrate why they're worthy of an earlier release. They need to demonstrate why they'll never return to another courtroom. They need to demonstrate what they're learning from the programs within this prison. And they need to demonstrate that they can continue to contribute to the prison and to their community. And before I go to the next question, I will say, some people might say, I don't need a release plan. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't need to create, I'm a millionaire. I'm successful. I built businesses. I've employed people. People that say that do not put themselves in the shoes of the stakeholders, because a case manager is used to what? A dude like me serving a measly year in prison, or even someone 5, 6, or 7 years, which relative to some people in the federal prison system ain't nothing. They're used to us standing outside their office saying, I have a job waiting for me. Please let me home. I didn't mean to do it. I've never had a parking ticket before. Let me go home. And the case manager will say, you should have thought about that, Mr. Paperny, before you broke the law. Thank you for calling. Have a nice day. And you're like, I don't seem to be influencing her. It's not working. The way you influence is by showing, not telling, which is why I'd encourage any prisoner, especially the Chrisleys, before they're surrendered to prison on the 17th, to create that reentry plan and build it and document it. And if they can do that, they will both adjust well, and their family will come to admire them in ways they never knew. Their fans will continue to lionize them if they can articulate why they're being productive. And yes, they can continue to grow this empire from prison. Let's talk about the next question here. Todd, Julie, and the rest of the Chrisley family have been vocal about keeping their family together through their incarceration. How can families remain close in their situation? Sure, they need to recognize this is harder on those that love and support them. This will be harder on their children, who through no fault of their own suffer. This will be harder on the grandchildren, people in the community, perhaps people who worked on these shows who were employed by virtue of their work, who now may be unemployed. So they need to recognize this situation is harder on their family. They need to prove worthy of the love and support they continue to receive. And I would encourage them, use the term fake it till you make it, that's a euphemism for lie, when they call home the first time, rather than, oh, this is so miserable and it's so tough and I should have pled guilty and I shouldn't have gone to trial and the government really screwed me and I'm millions of dollars into legal fees and the food isn't that good and the mattress is thin, I'm trying to work my way into getting another pillow and I thought the sheets was going to be a little bit thicker, and if you've seen the towel, like the towel is so small. In fact, I thought it was a hand towel, but it was really like the real towel, and I shopped in the commissary and I couldn't believe, I think the avocado's spoiled. Can you believe they're serving spoiled avocados here? It's not even edible. I tried to return it. Somebody got upset, and I ordered a pair of 9.5 shoes, but the 10s came out because they don't do half sizes. I didn't know if I should return it, but when I did, they got angry. That's what people do when they call home. You know what the family's thinking? Good God, this is really difficult. This is miserable. He's complaining about the avocado. He's complaining about the shoes. He's complaining about the sheet, and the towel isn't big enough. This is going to be a really long prison term. That's what some people do. No bueno, no good. So what I would encourage them to do if they want to truly stay connected to their family, call home and say, I'm strong and we're going to get through this. And I'm documenting every single day what I'm learning, how I'm growing. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it with our community because I am so fortunate to be one of few people who surrendered to prison with resources and millions of loyal fans who have a vested interest in what I'm doing. I'm going to prove worthy of it. So yeah, the food's not that great. My mattress could be a little thicker and the avocado's a little spoiled, but in the totality of my life, does it really matter if it's a good or bad avocado or how thick or thin the mattress is? No. Guess what, family? I'm finding perspective here as well because a lot of people have endured much worse. Mandela, I just read that book in the library, did 27 years. I just read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, who watched his family summarily get executed in the concentration camps. People have endured worse. I'm finding perspective. I'm growing. I'm going to share it with you. We will become closer as a family, and I cannot wait to visit with you. I cannot wait for you to see my growth, and I cannot wait to document this journey with you. In fact, I'm reading a book. How about we read it together, and then when we visit, we're going to discuss it. Also, the books that I'm reading, sounds corny and cheesy to some, but this is what it takes to get out of prison early and to be productive. Also, I'm reading a book, and I'm writing a book report about the book, why I'm reading it, how it will help me in prison, how it will help me when I come home. I'm putting that book report up on our website. I'm building it into the release plan, and perhaps some of the people in our community or millions of our fans will want to read the book, and I'd love to just engage and have a conversation with them. That's how you keep your family together through imprisonment. You recognize it's harder on them. You prove worthy of the love and support. You find perspective, and you never complain. There's another question here I'm going to transition to. Switching gears a little, they wrote, another celebrity who has been in headlines recently for their legal woes is Real Housewives star Jen Shah. It's been reported Jen may serve time at the same facility as Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes. Can you describe what meeting and socializing are like between inmates at a minimum security camp? I can tell you, Jen, if I were to write another book about how not to prepare for sentencing, that book would be about Jen Shah. Wow. In fact, if you're preparing for sentencing right now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to look at everything that Jen Shah did. I want you to do the complete opposite. Like that Seinfeld episode with George Costanza, he does the opposite. Hi, I'm George, I'm bald, I live with my parents and I'm unemployed, and he gets the date. Do the exact opposite of what Jen Shah did. And if you do that, you probably get a shorter prison sentence. To the idea of socializing, look, when you're a celebrity, we're enamored with celebrity in this country. Stardom, people love it. People also love to see the fall, which is why the build back is so great too. So how would I encourage socializing between inmates in a minimum security camp? When you get there, it's very much self-directed and self-paced. Like you surrender to the higher security prison, and they're going to move you over to, after a few hours of strip searched and kind of a dehumanizing process for some, really not that big a deal in retrospect, but at the time it's difficult. After a few hours, you'll get moved over to the minimum security camp. And it's kind of self-paced, self-directed. I remember when I surrendered to prison, I saw these people, prisoners like laughing and smiling, walking the track, playing bocce ball. And what are these people smiling about? Like they're in prison. What's wrong with these people? Why are they so happy? Will I ever feel that happy? So once Jen Shah or Elizabeth Holmes or the Chrisleys get there, there will be people who could care less that they're there and who will have no idea that they're there. There will be people who will be enamored that a celebrity is there because prison time for some can be boring. Not for me. But the highest value in these minimum security camps are boredom, no violence or anything crazy like that. So some people will be enamored because it's some excitement. There's someone new there. So you can expect some sycophants to come up to them and offer them things, razor, shower shoes, food, whatever. You can expect them to offer some things, and it's okay to take a care package. That's fine. You can expect some prisoners to be off-put by them because they have resources. They've had a lot of attention. Many people might feel as if their sentence is so short. Even Jen Shah got 78 months. I think the government wanted more than 10 years. Some people would argue she got a better sentence because of her privilege and wealth, where someone with a nonviolent drug crime might have gotten 10 years on a mandatory minimum sentence. So some people will be enamored. Some won't care. Some are going to be angry and could look to exploit them and put them on the spot. In my experience, friendships are going to form organically. What some prisoners do, and I would encourage Jen Shah, Elizabeth Holmes, the Chrisleys, and anyone to understand that you shouldn't try to manipulate this environment before you fully understand it, because mistakes can happen. We frequently ask people who come into our community, if I were to ask you 5 years ago, do you think you'll ever become immersed in a government investigation? They all say, no, crazy, that would never happen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have a business. Never. Ask the parents in the Varsity Blues case, many of whom we helped, if there was ever a chance they would go to prison to pay to get their kids into school. they would have said, no chance, yet here we are, many of them went to prison. The same thing here. So many people who said they would never become immersed in a government investigation are the same people who then say, I'm not going to get into trouble. I'm not going to use an iPhone. I'm not going to make bad decisions. And then guess what? It happens. So as they form friendships in prison, and as they begin to meet people who are in prison, as they begin to socialize, I would encourage them to bide their time before forming friendships. Why? Well, there's a lot of informants in the camp. People who want more commissary, more halfway house time. Some people better associate with a staff member, kind of like the Stockholm Syndrome. You better associate with the people holding you captive rather than those with whom you are in captivity. Did I say that correctly? I think you get it. So if you get to like the prison the first day and you start walking the track with someone for 6 hours, like who is this person? Do they talk to staff? Are they an informant? Do they use an iPhone? Do they complain? Do they not do their job? Do they make fun of the other prisoners? So I would encourage them to socialize as little as possible, to create a routine that keeps them out of the TV room at night where the hustling takes place, the drama, the fighting, the cards, the dominoes, where the weight of the day is behind you. Because some people, both male and female, rule that TV room like it is their fiefdom. Do not change the channel, by the way. I changed it one time from basketball to golf. I thought I was going to get jumped. It was a bad idea. Thank God I had adjusted well, because that could have really led to some problems. And golf, as I learned, is not as popular in prison as you might think. It's a bad idea. So to socializing, they should lay low. They should learn to say no. No, I don't want to go for a walk with you around the track. No, I don't want to pay you to do my job. No, I don't want to pay you to join your exercise class. I'm fine. No, I don't want to cut in line to go to the chow hall. No, I don't need any extra phone minutes. No, I don't need to use your iPhone. No, case manager and counselor. I do not need any extra benefits. And I'm so grateful that you liked my show, which is now off the air. Thanks. So grateful that you liked my show, but I don't need any extra benefits. I want to serve my time and build my reentry plan. So that's the advice that I would give to socializing in those early days. Learn to say no. Let friendships form organically, because too many people then form a friendship with someone and they learn this person's a troublemaker, and then it's kind of like guilty by association. Then it can be difficult to cut off the conversation. What if Jen Shah or Julie Chrisley forms a friendship with someone and it turns out to be the wrong friendship, and then you're living 5 yards away from them and you walk by each other like you don't know each other? So they need to understand this environment and avoid not given to unwritten rules in prison, not changing in your cubicle, you go to the shower stall, not going into another dorm, not sitting on someone's cubicle or bunk, not speaking to staff, not speaking too loudly on the phone, not changing the channel in the TV room. And most importantly, never complain. There are more questions here, and I'm going to wrap them up here in the next few minutes. I ramble a little bit, by the way. Some of you may be thinking, is this guy going to wrap it up? Hey, it's my YouTube channel. I've got the right to continue, though I hope you're finding value in this video. So let me keep going. In both the Chrisleys and Jen's case, their reality TV careers have taken a hit. They're not alone in a career taking a hit. Their reality TV careers have taken a hit as their sentences draw near. How, if all, can incarcerated celebrities keep their stardom alive while serving prison time? You document the journey. You share it with your network. When I went to prison, nobody knew me. And with the help of my business partner, Michael Santos, who served a quarter century in prison, I began documenting my journey on a website. And within weeks, I was getting like hundreds of letters a month in mail from people thanking me for providing a glimpse into this foreign world of imprisonment. That blog, here's the shameless plug, was the harbinger for lessons from prison because of the feedback. I'm like, hey, let's write a book here. So what can they do? They should do the same thing. They're going to prison with a list of followers. My list was... So what can they do? Continue to create content every single day. Put it on their website. Handwrite a book. My partner handwrote dozens of books in prison. We handwrote my book while in prison. So they can actually absolutely grow their empire. They can absolutely prove worthy of their support network and their fans. But it's not going to happen by going, surrendering and then coming home in 5 or 6 or 7 years and like, I'm back. I want to be on TV. They need to document it. They need to add it to a website. They should have a newsletter that perhaps the family can read on the podcast. That's what I would suggest. There's email in prison. LA, Dodgers, terrible loss. I nearly had to go to therapy over the Dodgers losing. They can send emails via core links. The family could read it on a podcast. That would probably be a good idea. Hey, everyone, thank you for watching our podcast today. What I'm going to do today is spend 20 minutes reading this incredible letter my parents wrote from prison. I hope it's inspiring to you to see how people can overcome and grow through struggle. I'm going to read it. And if you have a comment, please leave it. I'm going to share it with my dad. If you have questions, I'm going to share it with my parents, and they're going to respond on the next podcast. Then you have people vested in their success. But it requires work, no complaining, no hanging watching TV all day, No sleeping all day, no talking to staff all day. It requires a good old pen and paper and writing or sending an email. But if they want to continue to grow that empire from prison, absolutely it can happen without question if they want it. It can also inspire staff. It can inspire fellow prisoners. They expect them to complain. Prisoners and staff expect Jen Shah and the Chrisleys to complain and blame and excuse. They are expecting that. So if they can take a different approach, and if sometimes they got to fake it to make it, fine. But if they can take a different approach, they are going to have a wonderful experience, a productive experience where they are contributing from this prison. I'm not insane. I know they don't want to go to prison. I get it, but they're going. Make it a great experience and create a whole new legacy where 100 years from now, their kids and grandkids and kids are talking about how well mom and dad and grandpa did and everyone in a minimum security camp, they overcame it and they were stronger. It's all possible. Lastly, please let me know what official title you'd like to be identified in our article. I feel like Ron Burgundy reading the teleprompter here when I wasn't supposed to say that on film. Okay, I've answered all of the questions. You're all awesome for continuing to come to the White Collar Advice YouTube channel. I encourage you, if you want to learn more about prison, strategies to get through sentencing and prison, download our book. And of course, every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, we host a free webinar. It's free for all of you. You just have to come. I struggle to wrap it up sometimes. I'm going to wrap it up right now. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for coming. You're all awesome. The Chrisleys are going to do great in prison. They're going to prove worthy of the love and support of their family. They're going to crush it. I promise you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.